First of all, this is one of the biggest reasons why I love Qatar Airways. Did anybody recognize this? In my intro video, I asked if anybody recognized this little teddy bear. Well, this little bear is the key piece of artwork in the middle of Doha International Airport. So every time you fly Qatar, you'll definitely get to see him, her, it. Number 2, preface. This video is not sponsored by Qatar Airways. Can they though? That would be nice. Number 3, let's get to the meat of it. Qatar Airways is one of the largest airlines in the world. It's based in Doha, Qatar, and it has one of the largest networks in the world. And now it shares a business model like many airlines in the Middle East, like Emirates, Turkish Airlines, although it's not very Middle Eastern, Etihad, and among many others like Saudi and others. So what makes these airlines interesting and special or relevant? Well, they're so well positioned on the global map that they are one stop away from pretty much any destination in the world. Now, by fact, Turkish Airline actually flies to the most countries on this planet. That being said, Qatar flies to quite a lot of destinations because they fly to a lot of different cities in the same country that otherwise some airlines wouldn't bother flying because, well, some of them just can't make enough money on it. For example, in Italy alone, Qatar flies to Milan, Rome, and also Venice, which is not actually a very common destination that airlines fly to. In Thailand, for example, obviously everybody flies to Bangkok, but they also fly to Phuket directly from Doha. So case in point, if you want to get around the world, Qatar Airways gets you anywhere with one stop. And so that makes the world very, very close and connected to you. But of course, a lot of other airlines do that. So that's only one reason why Qatar Airways is so good. Another reason I love Qatar Airways a lot is the fact that it is only one of the few airlines in these Middle Eastern hubs that belong to an airline alliance. They're part of the One World Alliance. There are basically 3 alliances in the aviation industry. There's One World Alliance, there's the Sky Team, and then there's the Star Alliance. Now, of the 3, Sky Team and Star Alliance actually has more airline partners. But personally, I think One World Alliance is much more valuable having a status with. They actually have the best benefit and perks for having a status with them. For example, if you have their top tier status called One World Emerald, by having the relevant statuses with their participating airlines, you get first class lounge access plus 2 guests. You get a ton of luggage allowance, and you have a lot of other benefits like priority boarding. And in certain airports, you also get fast track access through security, which, by the way, let me just tell you from my own experience, especially in Tokyo, Narita, it will save you lives. Maybe an exaggeration, but you get my point. The Star Alliance and Sky Team don't really have as nice of these perks. That gives everybody a very strong incentive to fly with Qatar because it helps you earn those status and enjoy those benefits. If you need any proof that I'm an aviation geek, I also tend to collect these aircraft models. Well, the reason why I love Qatar as well, if you actually look close enough, and it's a very accurately done model of Qatar Airways, you see those little antennas on top? On this A350, by the way, is that Qatar was one of the first airlines to offer Wi-Fi across the other planes. In fact, very recently, Qatar has launched completely complimentary Wi-Fi via their partnership with Starlink, and the speed is insane. And we're talking about watching YouTube videos, uploading a video like this onto YouTube at the same speed that you would be while you're at home. That's incredible. So for those of you who think traversing around the world is going to affect your productivity, don't be worried. Qatar is going to get you covered the moment you step on the plane because you have this awesome Wi-Fi. Now let's get to the hard product of Qatar. Now Qatar has a very diverse fleet of planes, from the small ones of A320s all the way to the mega monster of A380. But their backbone workhorse is the A350, the 787, and the 777. And the beauty of these planes is they're big planes. They're very comfortable planes. And most importantly, they're very young and modern planes. Qatar don't run old planes. Well, that's a bit of an overstatement because Qatar do run some older planes, especially the ultra long haul model. Well, Qatar tends to keep their fleet very young. So they're always ordering new planes, and usually the planes you're hopping on are about 5 to 10 years old. That's really, really modern. So you're getting the latest tech and the latest planes, and that means the safest aircrafts that you can fly with. that's obviously a fantastic reason to fly with Qatar. And getting onto the actual seats themselves, let's just start with the back in the economy class. Qatar has one of the best economy cabins that I've personally flown in, notwithstanding the fact that they offer a fantastic meal and beverage service. They have a lot of selections, the menu changes all the time. We've always found the food to be relatively fresh and the crew quite attentive, even though you're packed in the back in economy. The seats, obviously, to be fair, if we're comparing economy class, there's not that much difference nowadays between airlines unless you're comparing budget airlines. So I would say economy seat is as comfortable across most of the airlines, but I do think the soft service makes a bit of a difference. But let's get to the real industry leading reason why I love Qatar so much, and that's their business class. Or is it actually first class? Qatar likes to call its flagship business product, the Q Suite, the world's So, Qatar's business class. Their flagship product is called the Q Suites. And if I remember correctly, they like to call it first in business. And boy, oh boy, I've flown my fair share of business class, not because I'm rich, but because, again, travel hacks. My God, that Q Suite blows you away. First time you sit down, number one, the space. You got 3 windows to your side, you got a door that fully encloses, and right in front of you is some 30-40 inch TV. I can't even bother to measure because there's no point. You're literally like you're sitting in a cinema. And then the fact that you have this comfortable chair, of course it's fully lie flat. You got a little bit of a cabinet space next to you. You got all the seat controls to the side of you. There's wireless charging in the latest models. Just physically, you're just blown away. And here's the really interesting thing for those of you who care about economics and technicalities. Qatar's managed to fit the same number of Q Suite seats in a business class cabin as most other airlines do. That really makes you wonder, what are the other airlines doing? Getting to the soft product. The service is insane. Now, one thing I have to admit, Qatar puts a lot of staff to work in business class, and they work very hard. So credit to all of the Qatar flight attendants out there that are giving your best. But they absolutely crank up their energy the moment you step on board. Towels, menus. Oh, by the way, did I mention pajamas? I'm actually wearing one of the Qatar Airways special limited edition pajamas that they gave out when Qatar hosted the FIFA tournament. And then pre-departure drinks, by the way, from the entire menu of your choice. And then once you take off into the air, a la carte dining. Qatar was one of the first airlines in business class to introduce on-demand a la carte dining. And that's really special because when you're flying, traversing around the world, look, I've flown enough times where I found myself thinking, which time zone am I even in? You're so messed up body clock-wise. Sometimes you just want to sleep after takeoff. Sometimes you want to eat. Sometimes you just want a light bite. Sometimes you want a full feast. Qatar says, whatever you need. That actually helps you physically get used to that long travel pattern and makes you rest comfortable and also eat comfortable. Because look, there's airlines that don't adopt to that model and you're basically forced to eat when they want you to eat. And when you don't want to eat, when you have all the cabin lights up, you have all these noise going on around you, it makes resting very difficult. And on top of that, they don't skimp on the food and beverage service at all. We're talking about 2 champagnes on offer, multiple menu items, and I've seen menu items as luxurious as a lobster thermidor served on business class. And on flagship routes at the moment, they even serve caviar. Now, of course, when you're flying premium up top, one of the main things you care about is resting, while Qatar actually offers turn-down service on most of their long-haul business class flights. With padding, everything's tidied up, so you're welcome to go to the washroom, to clean up, to change into your comfy pajamas, go back and the bed's made up, and good night. That's absolutely incredible. Finally, of course, we have to talk numbers. Now, flying business is always going to be a luxury and it's always going to be expensive relative to economy class. But, and this is why I love flying Qatar, from select markets, if you play this with strategy, you can actually sit up front for an absolute discount of a price. For example, I've flown long-haul business in Qatar for less than $2,000 on over 25 hours of flying. It's absolutely of a bargain when you compare that to other airlines, other destinations, and other classes of service. On top of that, your earning status. Remember, they belong to the One World Alliance. So a lot of times you can actually redeem miles for the flight, you can upgrade with miles, It's absolutely incredible. And finally, we cannot miss our little bear. Because you're transiting through Doha on every flight, their service in the airport is amazing. I would actually like to say amongst all of the airports I've been in, and that includes Dubai, where Emirates is based in, that includes Hong Kong, where Cathay Pacific is based in, that includes Changi, where Singapore Airlines is based, and many other hubs around the world, Qatar really figured it out. Even the Turkish airport in Istanbul, the very new one, it's huge. I'm talking about kilometers of walking. But somehow Qatar has figured out how to put all of their planes into a single airport without it making it feel too big. It's sizable enough to spread customers across the terminals, but also small enough for you to get from point A to B within meaningful time and not too much walking. And best of all, their lounges are designed for your comfort, knowing you just got off a long flight with another one to come. Showers, food, resting areas, playroom for kids, and in the latest business class lounge up in the South Terminal, they even have a gym. How cool is that? And if you ever get into first class lounge there, it's one of the best lounges in the world. They even have bedrooms for those long layovers with a bed and shower. I know this sounds like an advertisement for Qatar. Trust me, I would love for more of you to subscribe and follow me, but I don't have the stature yet. I'm saying this out of my own personal opinion. I just love Qatar. Now, that's not to say I haven't had some less than stellar experiences with Qatar. For example, they don't have a very consistent business class. Now, I've said we have the Q suites, but they actually have multiple configurations. And when you sit on some of the 777s, and actually the smaller A320s, they have these shell business class seats. It's still a lie flat, but it's a far cry from what you get on Q suites. So that, I do agree, has to be improved. And sometimes there is a bit of inconsistency in the service and the delivery of that service. But by and large, I would say Qatar is one of my go-to carriers when I fly long haul, because I don't mind the layover and I love the convenience and, of course, the cheap bargain tickets. Now, I have a lot of experiences flying multiple airlines around the world, from Cathay Pacific to Singapore Airlines to British Airways to American Airlines to even some of the budget airlines like Jetstar or AirAsia or EasyJet and Ryanair. So if you want me to share more of my experience with all of these different airlines, let me know. Or some of the airports that I've traversed in. I mean, who wants to talk about LaGuardia in New York? See you soon.